board will conduct its monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the application. You may stay for the meeting and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is as follows. After each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have the opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. We will ask for summary of the board's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone here, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I ask that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect their observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeal shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I will now introduce the board. At the far end is Mark Schumacher, John Shirk, Larry Timmon. I'm Kevin Fitzgerald, and our zoning administrator, Terry Dopp. First one we have tonight, variance 1 has been asked for a delay till June 15th, so we'll go to number 2. Richard Grundman, Verona, Wisconsin, has made application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, sub A, sub 4, and sub B, and sub 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to remove an 8-foot load-bearing wall and construct a new 3-foot load-bearing wall on first floor, to add window and south wall of lower level, and to repair foundation on southeast corner of the basement, exceeding maintenance and repair allowed to an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. Non-conforming due to ordinary high water mark and side lot setback in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreland area. A parcel of land being part of Government Lot 1, located in the SW 1/4 of the SW 1/4, Section 26, T20N, R11E, Town of Springwater, Coosa Lake. Address, West 5639 Archer Lane. Will the applicant please come forward to the microphone and tell us what you want to do? We need you to state your name into the microphone.
Richard Grundman.
Okay.
Pamela Grundman.
Okay. And give us a little brief synopsis of what you plan on doing.
Well, our property, we wanted to do some interior. Am I not close enough to the microphone?
Yeah, we got to get close.
Interior remodeling only. There will be no change to the footprint of the property. There will be no change to any drainage on the property. All the changes will be done interior in the building. The property that we purchased was built in 1966, and there's been no additions or changes to that size of the building since then. And so the side yard setback, I'm not sure when the lot next to us was sold that made us too close to the side yard, but that building has not changed. And so we understand that's one of the reasons for the variance. And the high water mark, because of the rules back in the 60s when the property was built, you were able to build closer to the water than you can now. So that's why our property sits where it does. We wanted to knock down a wall to improve our view out to the lake. Once we got We noticed after we took out some cabinets, there was water in the corner of our lower level. And so the drywall had to be removed, and that drywall needed to be removed. And that's when we saw the foundation crack. I don't know if it's appropriate. We do have a picture of that crack so that you folks can look at it and see what needs to be repaired.
Sure, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll pass it around.
I've got two of them. I didn't know how many people were here.
No, we'll
And then this
we'll
is-
keep one for the record, and then
Okay. And then
Thank you.
that's kind of the upper view, and then that's the kind of the full view of the crack. You can see we have one small area where you actually can see daylight through the wall. We did have companies come to take a look at that foundation to see what needed to be done. They recommended piering in the corner where that is, and then filling the actual crack where you can see the daylight with hydraulic cement. And so we got 3 different companies, and they all recommended the exact same thing. And basically, because that corner of the cottage where that crack happened, the prior owner on their real estate condition report marked that there was nothing wrong with the foundation. And obviously, after we found out that there was this crack where you could see the daylight, we called them and they said, yeah, we did try and repair it about 8 years ago, and we just failed to disclose that to you. So, you know, we came upon something we had no idea was going to be there. That work can all be done from the interior of the cottage. There will be no excavation. On the exterior of the cottage, there'll be no bobcats needing to be brought in or anything like that. Everything will be done from the inside. So once again, it won't affect our neighbor's property. We won't be disturbing any of the slope of the property that's there currently on either our property or the neighbor's, because everything can be done from the inside. When one of the questions that you ask in your variance is the protection of the public interest, and the folks who live next to us, the Fries, they were here just a couple of months ago for their variance, so you probably know what they were doing with adding their extra bedroom. And we conversed with them specifically about our project and what was going to be done, and you know, because they had told us about their project. So we're both very much aware of what's happening on each other's property, and that's the side of the cottage that where we have the setback issue. The other side, we've got enough room. Though we did talk with the folks on the other side, and then another cottage down, we specifically gave them a phone call to fill them in addition to what is required by you to connect with the property owners. We did also make those phone calls. Also spoke with the chairman of the town of Springwater. I spoke with the DNR representative. I tried to call the Lake Association gentleman, Mr. Gaburi. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, and I never received a phone call back. So that attempt was made. With that, everything being done inside, nobody else's property is going to be affected because we're changing any drainage or roof lines, anything like that, or their view of the lake or access to their property. And part of what we have to do, and you'll see in my statement, and I'm assuming you all got a copy of that, we are installing 2 French drains that were recommended by the folks in your department to put down near the lake. Because of how the property is situated from our front door, and you were all there, I guess, with the on-site, where that sliding glass door to where the steps go down is 12 feet 3 inches. So we don't have a lot of space between the cottage and where it drops off, and there's the rock wall. They recommended 2 French drains in 2 locations, one by a large tree that we have a gutter on, and then one where the former owner had buried a drainage, eaves trough and drainage underneath the sidewalk through the rock wall. And they said, you know, the only way we can really deal with that, instead of tearing everything up, is to do a French drain. So we had a visit by John and Rick Ertl, And we came to that decision, and because of the time of year that all this was decided, they had told us that they would give us until May 31st to dig the French drains and put in the no-mow grass that would, help the drainage on the lake part of that rock wall. I think that pretty much specifies what we're doing.
All right.
And if you have any questions, we're glad to answer them.
I have some questions. We'll try to get you to answer them,
Sure.
and the board might have some questions for you, too. We know there's been a recent survey, correct?
Correct, Mr.
And you know
Bossart
where
did
the
that.
You know where the lot lines are, right?
Yes.
Has the surveyor determined whether the home is out of the floodplain?
Yes, and we are not in the floodplain. And I also verified with my mortgage person and said, we didn't have any notice about floodplain when you gave us the mortgage. And she said, no, you would have known it because you would have been charged for the fact that you're in a floodplain.
You
So-
said you talked to the neighbors in the town, right?
Correct.
And you told us what you're going to do to the foundation. And was this work authorized by the building inspector yet?
I don't know if our contractor spoke with him or not.
Okay. You said there'd be no filling or grading outside, not touching the outside,
Everything can
right?
be done from the interior of the building.
All the work will take place within the three-dimensional building envelope of the home.
Correct.
And you stated that the storm water runoff and the potential for erosion will be 2 French drains. Anything else?
And addition of a no-mow grass that they recommended might be a good choice.
Land
And they said,
Conservation recommended that?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And with that plan for the French drains, you're going to have to do something with the eaves and downspouts instead of having the ones in the middle of the tree out in front?
Yeah, that one, when we talked about it, because to do it on the ground is a safety hazard.
Okay.
And we talked with our insurance company, and they said, that's a safety hazard to have something over where you walk all the time. They said if we can leave it on the tree, and then the French drain is supposed to be a 3-foot hole, I guess is what we're supposed to dig. We're supposed to line it with the landscape fabric. I don't know what it is. And then we put gravel inside of it. And they felt that 3-foot drain would be acceptable to take the water down as long as it's surrounded by that no-mow grass.
Okay. Are we talking about any other improvements planned for the property at this time?
Nothing other than what's on there. And the only thing that I would say specifically about the window in the lower level, that because we'd have to go through the cinder block foundation wall and also remove some of that field stone that's on that lower level. That is, we knew we would need the variance. It's not 100% that we're going to do that.
Okay. What about the septic system? Is that good? The new?
Yeah, when we purchased the property, we closed June 30th of 2016. Prior to closing, we had a company out of Appleton come and check the system. We made sure that the company that had pumped it, we went to their office.
Know how old it is?
I don't.
Do you know if it was maintained properly by the prior owners?
Yes, the prior owners, the woman, she didn't like the idea of a septic system, and so she had it pumped every single year.
Okay.
And when we asked the people who did it, we said, really, every year? Because we were told every 3 years, and then we get a certificate,
Yep.
and we forward it to the county, and they're like, she just didn't like the thought of it,
Okay.
so she asked us to come every year. So,
All right. I got a few more here. Have you thought about removing any structures down by the water, some of the retaining walls, and restoring your shoreline to be more natural slope?
moving any of the rock walls that are there?
Walls are considered as structures there.
Yeah, no,
Well,
No,
I
we're
asked
not-
if you considered it all.
no,
Okay.
no.
Any other options to your plans at this time? Doing anything different in the house that you're going through this process, or
No, once we're done
Okay.
with this, we're done.
what are the hardships and unique property limitations which would support your request for a variance?
Well, Once again, this cottage was there since the 60s. I don't know when the rules were made that you have to have a 15-foot side yard setback, but I'm assuming it was after the property next door was sold that we're both too close to the lot line. So I'm not sure of the timing of all of that, but that's the way the property was when we purchased it, and you know, we just live with where it is, I guess.
And it's built close to the water that you had nothing to do with.
Exactly.
You know what permits you're going to need for this? You have some already?
Yes, we do. A building permit, and then this variance through, or the zoning permit that,
You don't know if the building inspector signed off on the foundation work, so you're going to have to check into
I will
that.
have to check on that, and
Approved.
who would be the appropriate person for us to connect with.
And construction's already started on some of the work.
Yes, that is correct. Would it be
I would talk to your contractor and just make sure that
right?
he's-
And I'm saying, so he should connect with the building inspector. Okay, we can make that happen.
Any questions? John, Larry?
In your application, you talk about foundation repair on the southeast corner of the basement. That's the crack that you
That's
showed
the
us?
crack, yeah.
And that's it?
That's it. But, you know, this is our very first cottage kind of property. We figure better to be proactive and deal with it when it doesn't look super awful yet.
Right.
And deal with it now rather than saying, oh, well, we'll let it go and then have it get worse. And then it'll be worse for everybody. It would be worse for our neighbors if we had to excavate from the exterior of the building rather than doing the work all inside, you know.
And then also in your application, it said add window in the stone wall of the lower level to the east of the patio, size to be determined due to architectural analysis. Have you had that architectural analysis?
We have not, because what we would like to do, and I don't know if also included in your packet, we did have a structural engineer come up to look at our property, specifically in regards to removing the wall and the load bearing of it. I don't know if you
We're talking about
the interior, right? He knew we wanted to do it, but we didn't ask him to elaborate on that particular part of it. He did write a letter, and I don't know if you got a copy in your packet from Mr. Malm about, you know, the beam that needs to be put in, what he felt needed to be done, and because we have the old-fashioned way of building, you know, now everybody uses trusses. This was rafters because it was built so long ago, and he said basically your walls, the exterior walls, are your load-bearing walls. That interior wall isn't, in the sense, a true load-bearing wall as it would be if it were built with trusses. So that's what Mr. Malm had to say. I'd be glad to leave a copy of that letter if that's important for you folks to read and look at. I do have a copy of that if you'd like to have a copy of that.
I have a question back to that rain gutter drain that's in the tree on the west part of the property. According to a report I have from John Olson, Associate Conservationist here at the Washara County, in his report, he says the west downspout should be captured through a tile line and directed to an infiltration pit. So I don't see that he's saying in his report that this is going to go straight down from the tree into a pit.
I've never seen that. He did give us a copy.
And he goes on to say in his report, although this practice will not capture a one-year storm, its intent is for erosion control. And I think that's where you had a problem with the erosion there. The warden brought in a picture of showing the shoreline
What
erosion.
had happened?
There were pots there or something that you removed that the previous owners had
I
put?
believe as the owners got older, they just would take the pots that you would buy at like a landscape company, and they just planted them. They're everywhere in the what I call the backyard, the yard away from the lake, and down by the lake.
Yeah.
And every time it rained hard, those pots, the soil would just like run like crazy. And we were like, we think there should be something done. So we did take those pots out. There were 4 of them buried along the shore that were just, the soil, every time it rained, they would run over. So we did dig those pots out. And that's how all of this came to be. Now, when you mention a tile, in no letter or
It
communication.
says on the bottom of our report that it was sent to your address. This would be what
Yeah.
the form looked like.
Okay, and I guess I don't remember the tile line. Well, we'll have to chat with him when we get started on that project to make sure we understand what.
I thought we came to an agreement that these French drains would suffice.
Yeah.
It could be a French drain, but it won't be right where that, below the tree there.
Well, we'll have. I guess
Might
we'll.
have to go off to a distance someplace.
Yeah, we'll have to communicate with him when we can start digging. I mean,
Have to work that out with.
Yep.
yeah.
I just want to bring it to your
Sure,
your attention.
sure. And that document I do recall seeing. I just didn't remember the tile
Yeah.
language.
French drains were my question, but you answered them very adequately.
Anything?
I'd like to say I think you did a good job of explaining things.
Okay, that's all I have. You can
Any
have a
other
seat.
questions from anyone?
Oh, you can have a seat.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
And may I just
Well,
add real quickly?
Yes.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Lindsay, for all your help. They're very good at helping someone who's never been through this get through the process. And so I want to thank you both very much for all the time and effort
Thank you
you
for your
put
kind
forward
words.
to help us out.
Correspondence?
We have no correspondence and no one registered to speak.
Okay, staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other data for this application that they are considering tonight. They also visited the property and viewed the proposal, on site. They got to see the downspout in the tree and all that. So they have a pretty good understanding of what's going on out there. At this time, I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include, number 1, that the code is unnecessarily burdensome and the landowner is not able to enact a permitted use without a relaxation of the dimensional standard. 2, that there are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standard. And 3, if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present the application and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, convenience, a growing family, or nearby violations cannot be considered as a valid reason to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that there are several retaining walls and wide in-ground stairs that do not meet today's code requirements. They noted that stormwater control and infiltration is a concern when the home is located so close to the water and the side lot line, and that land conservation has already made recommendations to address those issues. As far as my recommendations go, I feel this is a case where you need to weigh what is being done as opposed to the code requirements. Our code prohibits any structural alterations to a structure that is less than half the required distance to the side lot line. And this is mainly to prevent someone from rebuilding their property when maybe that's time to look at it and move it so that it better meets setbacks. Move it further away from the, rather than tear down the wall, move it so it's further away and meets the required setback. In this particular case, the proposed structural alterations are not so great that it constitutes a substantial rebuild. Certainly not. And if stormwater issues that exist are addressed, I think it will actually make the existing construction better for the lake and the neighbor. So in other words, with proper mitigation, this is one where the construction seems to make sense and is not rising to the point where the home should be moved to better meet setbacks. That's it for my comments.
Any rebuttal by the applicant? Nope. Anything else from the board? Okay, we're going to take our business meeting and go in that room there. You can come with us. We're going to make a decision in there, and we will turn this over to the boys in back. I'll give you a
those two of them.
Take over, I guess we'll go home. Leave my coat here, nobody will take that. Come on, Fred.
Nope,
One more.
We're gonna have to move
One
down
more,
one.
Fred.
Oh, yeah, well,
Unless you want to take the minutes.
Come on, Fred, get with it.
I didn't think so. Nobody jumps at that job.
I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute now, my candy's not in that drawer over there.
Well, if we would have known you had candy, we would have come up there right away. It's gone. Somebody else knew you had
Somebody
it.
else found it.
So, which one's first? The first one is asked to be tabled.
Canceled, so it's like the first one will be Tom Heights. Did we do anything on that then?
We will in the business meeting
Stafford first?
No.
formally table it.
Canceled for now.
I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Please remember to keep your comments brief, no more than 5 minutes, and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect their observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of the committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will introduce the committee. Far left, Russell Heisey, Mike Kapp, Fred Gallerup, Bob Wadle, Terry Dot Poxted, zoning administrator. My name is Mark Kirschner. First application we'll be hearing tonight, Tom Heidel, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Bart J. Armstrong, landowner, has made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 19, and 58-454, paragraph 11 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a dog kennel for training and boarding, maximum of 10 adult dogs, with a proposed construction of a 32 by 56 building as housing and training area with an attached 20 by 48 fenced exercise yard in an AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, a parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 5278, being part of the south half of the northeast quarter and the north half of the southeast quarter, Section 17, Town 18 North, Range 13 East, Town of Aurora. Fire number N1452, State Road 49. Is the applicant present? Would you come forward, please?
Hi there, my name's Tom Heidel. I'm applying for a conditional use permit for a dog building. The building is strictly just for the dogs, for the housing of the dogs in the evenings. I train different places every day. The dogs in the building itself, there will be no outside runs as far as inside outside. So anytime the dogs are in the building, they're in the building. So there won't, noise-wise, there's no noise. The exercise area in the off the back of the building, obviously after you feed them at the end of the night, they got a little area to run around, go to the bathroom, do all that stuff. Once they're done with that, they will be brought back into the building where they have by code 4x6 kennel run inside the building. The building will be all climate controlled, heat and cool. So there's no reason for the dogs to be outside. Portion of the building will be for the dogs. The other portion will be for what I do, like obedience training for the dogs. You know, things that I can do like inside the building. I don't need to be outside, you know, because of the weather or whatever. As far as the training that I do, what I do is I train gun dogs, hunting dogs, waterfowl, upland dogs. I do what's called a started dog, where I take a young dog as a puppy and I raise that dog for the owner because they don't want to go through the potty training, you know, they don't have the time to do it. So I raise it for the dog, put it through the 3 months of training, and then the owner comes out, meets with me, works with me before the dog goes home so that the owner can understand how to run the dog and get his money's worth, I guess is the way of saying it. So he understands how to run the dog. I do, besides a few of those that I do, the other dogs are just hunting dogs, and I usually have them anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, depending on what the amount of training the owner wants. At no time, I mean, the owners come out. I mean, they may come out once a week, you know, at the most, where they come out to work with the dog, you know, kind of hands-on, me and the owner, so they get to work the dog. A lot of times they actually meet me where I train. Like I said, I train anywhere from Sheboygan to Portage, Madison. I go a different place every day. I'm never on the same property more than one day. As far as puppies, I may have a litter once every 2 years, you know, my personal litters. Those two, everything will be kept inside. Not at any time is any of them dogs going to be inside, outside, where neighbors have to worry about noise, you know, barking, anything like that. The fenced-in areas will have a 6-foot fence. So obviously there's no way for the safety of the dogs that they can get out over the fence, hop over the fence, whatever. It will actually, the fence, I'm going to put the fence in the ground a foot so that they can't dig underneath it, anything like that, just for the safety of the dogs. I treat the dogs like they're kids. I got a lot of respect for them. That's my job, so I treat them like that.
Okay, the committee has a few questions for you, Tom.
Sure.
Committee questions, please?
Has there been a recent survey?
Yes,
And do you know where the lot lines are?
yes.
Are you purchasing property from Hilgert's?
Wes, I'm talking to him and possibly about purchasing our 3 acres, yes.
Okay,
To-
we were
to-
just
To complete
wondering,
the field.
because the property line seems to be pretty close where you're gonna build a house with the neighbors there. And
It's 300 feet. The kennel building is 300 feet off the road, where the kennel building's going to be. Were you guys seen the thing? That's where the mound system is. The house is going to be up closer to the road.
and definitely far enough away from
Yeah, yes.
for the septic?
Yes.
Okay. Will you have any additional land surveyed?
Nope, just everything I've had surveyed already.
Well, does the existing driveway come in on the neighbors, and you use the easement noted on CSM 5278 until you can turn in?
That's going to be the driveway, the easement that comes into that property. It's going to come in and then it hooks, and it's going to go right off into the field right there. That easement, I contacted the highway department, and there's two different driveways that can come in. One is where Wes's property is, and the other one is where that easement is. And I don't have any reason to move it. I'm fine with it there, you know, not that I'd want to move it for any reason. I've talked to the landowner about it. He's aware of it, where the road we're gonna come in. So,
Address number is for the shed on Hilgert's, correct? Out by the road, there's a,
the north 1452, that's the address for that property.
okay.
For Hilgert's or yours?
That's the way it's listed on here. That's our property number.
I think it's really for Hilgert's shed,
Oh, is it?
and you should
Okay.
have a new one.
And I should have to get a new one then, okay. That's when we bought the property, that's what it was listed as.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm not sure how that happened, because there aren't any improvements on yours, and you only get a number if you have
Okay.
improvement, so I think it's for the shed.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, so I'll have to take care. That's because when we bought the property, that's the address that was listed.
Mhm.
What sort of traffic do you anticipate, and where are they gonna park?
Hardly any. There, most of the time, it's gonna be just me coming in and out. Like I said, when I have a customer meet me, unless I'm training on that property that day, there may be a extra vehicle that comes in. There may be a couple vehicles that come if I train on my property that day that are there. They'll be off the road. They would come in where where the house is gonna be, park up there, and then we'd run we use four-wheelers out to do everything.
So they'll be on a parking lot, basically.
On our land, yes.
Have you contacted the county humane officer?
Main, what, let me go by that. I got my checklist here that everybody I talked to.
Okay, the,
Only person I haven't talked to is the sheriff yet. Amy gave me a checklist here of the things I was supposed to contact, Sheriff's Department, Kelly Nichols, landowners. That's everything I have checked on here.
And
not checked with
The humane officer works for the sheriff's department.
Okay,
They're
so
a
that's why I got
trained
contacted. That's, yeah,
deputy.
She did say about letting him know that just so he's aware of what we are doing there.
are you aware of the kennel requirements, and will they be followed?
Yes, be a yearly inspection, code, all the kennels, all that stuff. Yes.
Okay. Can you describe what type of boarding and training you will be doing?
The only boarding I will be doing is the actual dogs that I'm training. I mean, I won't have like the neighbors down or someone from Berlin coming here to drop a dog off because they're going away for the weekend. The only dogs I'll be boarded are the ones I'm training. So there won't be, like I said, the traffic is going to be very minimal, other than me and my wife coming home at night or leaving in the morning.
You explained a little bit, but can you get into a little more depth on what does the training involve, and if it takes place on the site, where it takes place on the site?
Basically what it is, I'm training dogs to waterfowl hunt, for upland pheasant hunting, quail, grouse, that type of hunting. The property, most of the time, the property is going to be used for just like what I call drill work. You know, just working on things, teaching the dogs before they go out in the field to work. As far as being obviously for the safety of the dogs, we will be away from the road. Nothing's going to be up close to the road. You know, no vehicle is going to be on the road or anything like that, obviously, because you can't. But it'll all take place in that field. It's a 18-acre field right there.
You take more than one dog out at a time?
No, it'll be only one dog out at a time. Yeah, they're all individually worked, each dog, then put away.
You said that your dog may have some puppies once every 2 years or so. Are you going to sell those puppies or
Yes.
raise them out?
Yep.
How many dogs do you anticipate boarding at any one time?
Well, for the kennel license, you're up to 12 dogs, it says, for a kennel license. I don't anticipate going over any of that. I'm a small business. I do all my work myself, so I keep it small.
Are you planning on putting an advertising sign out?
No.
Will the kennels be at least 300 feet from any home other than your own?
Yes. Everything is at least 300 feet away.
How will animal waste be disposed of?
Into a separate holding tank for the kennel itself. We'll have a drain system in there. I'm not gonna have any solids go into it. I've already talked to the guy that's doing our mound system, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the solids, and it's just gonna sanitize the kennels as it goes out. And it's like a chlorine tablet type sanitizer. It's safe for the land and everything like that. So it's nothing harsh or anything like that.
Okay, but what are you going to do with the solid waste?
That I'll have to remove or dump it or whatever is required.
Would the maximum number of adult dogs be no more than 10, 11?
Saying, yeah, 10. I know I'm allowed 12
12, yeah.
For a kennel license, but like I said, I keep everything small. Because I do everything myself.
If an approval is granted, when would you plan on starting construction?
We're looking at starting to build in May, end of May, for the house, and the kennel building be right in that time frame that the house is being built. So there'll be no animals or no dogs out there until the completion of the house, until we're actually physically living out there.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Russell, you any questions? Fred? Nope. Robert?
Nope.
Can I ask one?
Possibly.
When you say 12 dogs, that includes your own dogs too?
Yes.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
My personal dogs.
So the most you could have there, other than your dogs,
Yep.
would be 9. Okay,
Started with.
there we go.
How many do you train, just for my own information, in a year?
How many?
Roughly.
It varies. Like I have some dogs that I'll have in all summer, and I run competitions with. AC hunt tests and field trials is what it's called, where they actually the dogs are judged to a standard, or they're judged to win first, second, third. It's all waterfall related. Most of the time, most of the dogs I have usually 3 months, 3 to 4 months at the most, to get them through a basic gun dog program. Where when I'm done with them, that owner after he's done working with them, he can basically take that dog and go duck hunt like a first year hunting dog, where they've been hunted out of boats, been shot over. I mean, retrieved plenty of ducks, all that thing. Same thing pheasant hunting. They've flushed and quartered a field where and probably picked up 50 birds before they go home to their owners. My biggest thing is that I recommend that the owner comes out 6 to 8 times before the dog goes home, because I just think that's fair to the owner.
Okay, sounds good, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
We have a couple letters. As Tom had mentioned, he contacted, and we did too, Kelly Nicholas from DOT. And she sent a note back to Lindsay. She says, "Hi, Lindsay. We are working with Tom Heidel and Cristiano's Pizza with driveway applications. Here are the comments we have so far. And regarding Tom Heidel, field review has been completed. Access engineer is reviewing and should not be a problem for permitting the existing driveway. No new driveways will be allowed on this property per access covenant. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns." And that's thanks, Kelly Nicholas, Access Management Coordinator from Wisconsin DOT.
Okay.
And, sorry.
Go ahead.
And we also have a letter addressed to me from the clerk for the town of Aurora. "Dear Terry, at our regular board meeting Thursday, February 9th, the Aurora Town Board reviewed the conditional use request from Tom Heidel to establish a dog training facility on property for sale by Bart Armstrong on 49. The conditional use permit is to build a 30 by 48 pole shed to house and train 6 to 8 dogs per year. After discussion, the board voted to recommend approval of the conditional use permit without any additional conditions." And that's signed sincerely, Sue Hale, clerk for the town of Aurora. That's it.
That's it. Anyone in favor or? Mike Clowitter, appear and speak for information only. Would you come up to the mic? State your name for the record, please, Mike.
Mike Claviter, address N1485, right across the highway, the farm there. To start it all, it was a shock. You know, we got a letter in the mail last week that said this is all going on. We obviously seen some digging going on. We didn't have a clue what was going on other than that. Of course, then the rumor mill starts, and then you hear what's going on. Some of the concerns that we have, obviously, we have a farm there, and information-wise, usually hunting dogs, you're using guns, do you shoot, are they running free, they retrieve, how is it being handled, are they out in that field, and how are they being contained and watched over, and what do we do with our dogs? Our farm dogs are running, so obviously it's my choice, but I can't help but think it's going to affect my animals. And if I can't keep them home, then I'm going to have to get rid of them. But more information. I didn't know what was going on here at all. So now he's building a house, I guess, and then a kennel. He's talked about training on the 18 acres. I don't know if they shoot dummies and they go and fetch them, or is there some explosive work going on, guns, what kind of noise was a factor. What kind of quality of life is going to change our lifestyle in the country? We move out in the country for a reason, and we're there for a reason. These people come out, and bring whatever they're bringing. So I just wanted the board to be aware of some of the things that we're worried about. Once it's there, and it's all done. And then what do we do from there? So,
Appreciate your concerns, Mike.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Staff comments?
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. Now I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, such as building a home in a residential zone or even in the agricultural zone, or having a barn and farm animals in the agricultural zone. In addition, there are uses that may be permitted provided certain conditions can be met. And that's what we're looking at here, a use that may be permitted provided that these conditions in the code are complied with, so the use remains in keeping with the surrounding area. Some examples of these, and this is kind of a standard statement that I have for conditional uses, is a dog kennel in the ag zone, unoccupied storage of a travel trailer on vacant property, a gravel pit, or a home-based business in our rural areas. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits, and that might help you understand it a little bit better. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the standard conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there should be a home here prior to or within a very short period of time from when the kennel is populated, and that the new buildings will require the assignment of an address number because we believe that other one is for the shed. I think this one is really fairly straightforward as long as the home is built and occupied in concurrence with the kennel being opened. It's really not a good idea to have a kennel without someone residing at the residence to provide timely care for the dogs, but I believe this issue is being addressed by the landowner. And all the other items of concern when operating a kennel, I think, have been addressed and taken care of. So the applicant would have a chance for rebuttal if they wanted to address the concerns of the neighbor.
Tom, you want to address some of the concerns? You want to come forward again, speak into the mic?
Out of all the people, I can honestly say I stopped by your place half of the times no one's around.
Speak
Can you
into the mic.
please address the committee?
As far as shooting, what we use is they're called 22 blanks. It's just like a cat. It sounds like a cap gun.
Excuse me, can you please address the committee?
Okay.
I know
It's a cap gun is what it is. It shoots, all of it is gunpowder, and you pull the trigger and it sounds like a 22 going off, but there's no bullet or anything like that. So very, very seldom is there any live shells used. Everything is simulated with what's called a popper. Basically what that is, it's a shotgun shell with got powder in it, it's got grits, and it just makes a sound like a shotgun shell, but it's no shot. 90% of the time it's birds that they're all dead birds, they're all dead already, which I have permits to have. So as far as safety wise, I mean, the dogs don't go out in the field until they're ready to. I mean, obedience wise, listening, I mean, I don't let them run loose. They're always being by me or being watched, I mean, at all times. So, I mean, I'm very careful of that, so as far as what he was asking about safety of his dogs, I understand his concern. But I have respect for everybody else around. I mean, if for some reason his dog did come across, I'd take it back over there. I mean, that's just the way I am.
You also mentioned that quite often you aren't at your property. About how many days a week would you train at your property?
where I would actually use my field maybe once or twice a week. Otherwise, I'm training someplace else every day. You know, I may only be at my property that day maybe for an hour, you know, and then I'm gone someplace else. But I mean, I will use my property, but it's not like I'm gonna be there every day. When I would use it be during the daytime hours, usually from about 9, 10 o'clock until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I won't be late at night shooting, obviously, or anything like that. So I don't know if that answered everything, or
I think so. Yeah, I think so, Tom.
okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Okay. The next application that we will hear tonight is a zone change. Cristiano's Pizza LLC, Watoma, Wisconsin, Shirley Handel, landowner, has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138-58-541, 58-661, and 58-664 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an AG General Agricultural to a CG General Commercial to conditionally establish a restaurant with beer and wine served with proposed construction of a one-story 50 by 100 building with an approximately 20 by 42 covered patio, and from an AG General Agricultural to an RS20 residential single family for the purpose of creating a residential lot. Cumulative land divisions and residential use constitute a minor subdivision within a shoreland area. Location: approximately 350 by 500 portion of an existing 13.63 acre parcel of land to be zoned CG, and approximately 108 feet by 475 feet by 150 feet by 235 feet riparian parcel to be zoned RS20, an original parcel being 13.63 acres of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 6408, being part of the Government Lot 2, Section 6, Town 18 North, Range 11 East, Town of Marion, Lake Irrigami, State Road 21, and Woodworth Crossing. And don't ask me to read it again. Would the applicant come forward, please? State your name for the record.
I'm Lee Wise from Cristiano's Pizza. I don't, Mr. Handel's here too. He's listed on that. Okay. So basically we have an offer to purchase this parcel of land on Highway 21 from the Handels. It's contingent on the zoning and other minor contingencies with DOT and such. But you summed it up in that
Yeah. I'm not going to read it again.
Yeah. We have an existing restaurant downtown Watoma, as you guys all probably know, and we've been there for 22 years now. And we're basically looking to build a new restaurant just to basically serve our customers better in the dining capacity. As far as the other lot goes, it was just kind of, that lot is kind of separate as a lake lot, and that's the reason for zoning that residential versus agricultural. We figured we'd do both of those at the same time, just so there wasn't any confusion on the lots being zoned together. So.
Okay. Committee has a few questions for you. Committee questions?
Has there been a recent survey, and do you know where the lot lines are?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we all have copies. I'm sure that was a part of the packet, but sure.
The lots in this area are served by municipal sewer, is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Could you describe your proposal for this location? I think you already did that, both the residential and commercial plans. Now we will concentrate on the restaurant portion of the application. How many employees do you anticipate having?
Well, we currently have about 50 employees at our current restaurant. A lot of part-time in the restaurant business. So our plan is right now is to keep a portion of that business downtown. So our pickup and delivery business we intend to keep downtown. So So that's an interesting question, because I really, I mean, it's probably going to be between 20 and 30. How many full-time people? Maybe a dozen, you know, and the rest being
A lot of them
part-time.
are just, what, high school kids or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
put in 3-4 hours or.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, a lot of it's an entry-level job, you know, position for a lot of those high school kids, and
Okay.
we take that challenge on. So
What sort of traffic will there be, and do you know what sort of parking you will need? You're not gonna do the delivery and pickups up there, so you wouldn't need that.
Yep.
For parking and the employees and the customers?
yeah, so on the site plan that we drew, I think generally in the restaurant industry is however many people you intend to serve, you try to have half that many parking spots. So if we planned on seating 100 people at a time, it would be 50 parking spots, and I should have probably been more prepared, but we did factor all that in with the number of stalls drawn on the site plan. So
Is there enough room for the parking, and will the parking lot be paved?
parking lot will be paved, driveway will be paved. It was kind of a nice part about this piece of land is I thought, man, 13 acres, that's a pretty big parcel of land, maybe too big. And then, you know, once you plot it out on this map, it actually looks kind of small, because the parking behind there, I mean, there's plenty of room for parking, and that's a nice part about that property being that big, you know. So
Have you thought about stormwater runoff and how this will be handled from the buildings and the parking lot?
yeah, I know that as a part of the building permit and the building process, I think all of that is factored in the building permit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they kind of pretty much tell you this is your footprint and this is what you have to have for stormwater runoff. So that's kind of where, you know, I personally haven't really planned that out, because I know that that's going to be a part of the plan that as moving forward.
Your contractor or your architect or whatever should propose that.
Okay, is there an advertising sign being planned? And if so, have you talked to the state about signs, since this is on a state road?
We did, and I know we are working with the DOT for the permit on the driveway and the sign, and I think that goes in conjunction with your guys' approval. As far as the sign goes, yeah, that again too, I believe is a permitted thing. It has been in our past, ventures, and they kind of tell you what you can have for a sign. So we don't intend on going above and beyond that. And I think you would probably need a variance for that anyway if you did want to go above and beyond. But no, so whatever they permit for as far as the sign goes, it's going to be very subtle, just kind of like what we have in our other locations now. So.
Are you aware of the state building codes, health code requirements, and other regulations, and will they be met?
Absolutely.
Do you know how much filling and grading will need to be done for the restaurant and parking area?
As far as and Dave and I were up there looking at the site, and the way that when the state came through with their highway, they actually kind of graded that whole top part off there. And it's kind of neat, because as you guys were up there yesterday, it's just a nice flat piece. So hopefully requiring minimal grading, where we plan to do the restaurant and the parking lot, and we staked it all out. It was kind of nice that there wasn't a whole lot of grading that had to be done. So
You have quite a collection of rocks.
there's some big rocks there, and hopefully we can use those as landscape.
All of the restaurant wastewater can be directed into the sanitary district sewer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are there any additions or buildings planned other than what you've indicated on the site plan?
No, as of right now, that's kind of our dream restaurant right there. So we're excited to move forward with that.
Okay, will all the activities be inside, or is an outdoor patio or deck planned for warm weather dining?
Yeah, if you look on the site plan there, it's kind of off to the east of the building. We'd like to keep everything in front of the building there clear, just so that the customers inside would have a nice view. That's why we kind of moved that little piece of outside dining there off to the side, and then also too the noise from the highway. They'd be kind of protected from that a little bit too, so they didn't be a nice, enjoyable outside patio.
Are you planning on improvements to the driveway, and have you talked to the state about any planned upgrades for the driveway?
Yeah, there is an existing drive there, as it shows here, and I know it is considered an improved drive, because the drive that there just isn't quite wide enough. So yeah, that was all part of our DOT application, and we're waiting to hear back from them. But yeah, so it's going to be paved, plenty wide enough. I believe we planned on 33 feet for the drive, which would allow plenty of room coming and going. So
Do you need a new fire number?
I believe so, because I don't think there is a fire number on that property at all right now. It's vacant land, so yeah.
If an approval is granted, when would you make any improvements necessary and start the restaurant operation?
If the approval, tonight, I believe it goes to the county board, which I was trying to get on that agenda for this month, but hopefully it'll be next month we get on that agenda, and then it goes back to the town of Marion the month after that. As soon as we get those approvals and we're able to close on the land, we would like to start right away. So try to take advantage of some of that warm weather construction this summer. So.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about the residential portion of the application. Can you describe the residential lot?
The residential lot would be at the end of at Woodworth Crossing. There's a cul-de-sac there. And it basically goes from the existing residential lot line all the way around to that easement. That easement that is on the CSM. And that residential lot, I believe you have to have so many feet on a public roadway to have a lot that size. As far as that lot's concerned, we don't really have any plans for it. Just trying to zone that residential, like I said, just so it doesn't get confused with the restaurant project right now. But we don't have any plans to sell it or anything at the time being or building on it, obviously. So I think there's about 100 feet of frontage on Lake Irigami that goes along with that lot. So.
Are there any other similar lots like this in the area?
Not that I could find. Highway 21 corridor, I know, it's it's kind of where I think the county and the planning way back when was where they want all the commercial growth is to hopefully be on Highway 21 on Silver Lake Sanitary. That was very important to us in the restaurant business. But to have a lot that size, I don't know of any that close to town. If you get farther out of town, maybe towards Red Granite, you would maybe get into some lot sizes that. But we looked at some other lots closer to Watoma and stuff like that, and they were very small lots, very tight buildable spaces on those lots, and it was this is when this became available, we kind of had our eye on it right away, and very excited that we were able to progress with this. So.
Are there any deed restrictions planned for the residential lot?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Are you planning on a new driveway off of the cul-de-sac for the residential parcel?
We don't have any plans to do that right now because we don't have any plans of developing that lot. So I would assume down the road if that lot would ever get sold as a residential lot, or my dad would decide to.
Maybe when the time comes.
When the time comes, yeah, there will have to be a driveway.
If and when you do sell that for building or whatever, will there be an issue with the access since the cul-de-sac is cut into that existing hill?
No, because it's actually opposite of that hill. So that lot is opposite of that hill. It's pretty straightforward, I believe. I think it'd be a pretty easy access to get right in there.
Okay, then how will the remaining lands to the north gain access to their parcel? Is there an easement being planned?
There is an easement already, and I think it's drawn on this. Yeah, it is. Yep, it is drawn on the surveyed map. It's a 33-foot wide ingress egress easement for Lot 2, which Lot 2 would be the back half of this existing property. So yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of shoreline zoning regulations related to construction, shoreline vegetation, and filling and grading on a lake lot? Okay. Have you reviewed this proposal with the town board?
We have, and they were very excited. I think they actually sent, or they were supposed to maybe send a letter, but we did go to the town of Marion first, knowing that it had to come back to them, and try to get their approval. And they all seemed very excited, and they actually unofficially gave their approval.
Okay, and this is in compliance with their land use plan?
Yes. Yep.
Are you aware of the surveying requirements?
Yeah. The surveying requirements as far as
you'd have to get this survey recorded and approved and,
Oh, yes, okay, yeah, for sure, yep,
Are you aware of the uniform property address requirements?
yes, yep.
And I think you answered this, but if an approval is granted, when do you anticipate the certified survey map could be done and recorded?
I think that that's kind of like step one. So as soon as we're able to close on this property, I mean, I would assume that that would be the first thing that we do, so.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Russell, any questions?
Yeah, you're gonna buy that 13-acre parcel. Who owns the parcel right to the north of that?
It's actually the same landowner, the Handles.
Is he gonna have access to that property?
Yep, there is a 30, there, at the end of that Woodworth crossing, there's a cul-de-sac, yep. Oh, you don't? Okay. I could show you, yeah, if you want to pass that down. You'll see the 33-foot easement, and it actually describes it on the survey.
Oh, I see it. I can see it.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's all I wanted to know. How that they were gonna get.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You might gonna be landlocked if you purchase that 13 acres.
Yeah, and when this survey was done, I think they kind of thought through all that, and that's why when they separated the front half from the back half, that's where that easement came in, so, yeah.
Michael?
Yes, yesterday when we were looking at it out there, up on top of the hill, you were explaining that the outside patio part of it would kind of be toward the northeast side
Yep.
of the building. In the front, you were gonna leave open with windows and everything.
Yeah.
What are you planning to do on the front side? Have lawn out there, grass and everything, and be far enough away from the hillside so any deluge and rain that comes down doesn't go down and fill the ditches up and everything?
Yep, yeah, so we'll vegetate the whole, in front of the restaurant, try to make it look as nice as possible. I think that's, part of the, when you see that place, I think that's gonna be a big part of making the place look nice. So, yeah, probably a nice lawn and, some minor landscaping or something, that would, yeah, for sure.
Brad?
Nope, I have no question.
That's a first. Robert?
Nope.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Some of these questions that were asked are repetition, we just have to get them into the record, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Correspondence? Your turn.
there's a lot. On March 15th, Gary Waleko called and wanted this note to be read at the public hearing. The town of Marion has no objection to the zone change for Cristianos. It was discussed at the board meeting in February, and board supervisors present expressed their support for the zone change on property on State Highway 21. Then they included a copy of the minutes. Do you want me to read those?
No, you don't have to read the minutes. no.
Good. On March 14th, we received an email from Ross Peterson, Dear Waushara County Zoning Commission. I am writing to express my support for the Cristianos restaurant that is being considered on Highway 21 in the town of Marion. As a Silver Lake property owner for 15-plus years and a neighbor to this prospective project, many of us in the area are excited and hopeful it will come to fruition. The Wise family, with their 3 locations in the area, have consistently provided top-quality food and a family-friendly atmosphere. A new location with effective dining, lounge, and indoor-outdoor waiting areas for their customers would be a huge asset to the area. This new facility would allow them to efficiently serve a large number of people, especially during the summer months when our lakes are full of visitors and Wautoma becomes a vacation destination. Best regards, Ross Peterson. Also on March 14th, we received a letter from Lester Smet, S-M-E-T, to Waushara County Zoning. We own a home in the township of Marion, W7183 Indian Mound Circle, Wautoma, Wisconsin, and we are in favor of the zone change for Cristianos Pizza LLC. Ray, the notice in the Waushara Argus, March 2nd. With the loss of Peck's Restaurant, this would be a good replacement, making good use of this vacant land. Also on March 14th, we received a letter from Charles and Mary Plock to Waushara County Zoning. We own a home on Silver Lake in the township of Marion, N2106, State Road 73. And we are in favor of the zone change for Cristianos Pizza LLC per the notice in the Waushara Argus on March 2nd. We know the Wise family and like them. Also on March 14th, we received a letter from Eric Buchholz. Do you want me to spell it? Because I never remember how to spell it. Okay. I am the general manager of Washera Country Club located at N2410 Hillside Drive. I recently read about the possible zone change in the Washera Argus. The property mentioned neighbors, the Washera Country Club. With a business like Cristiano's and its reputation for hard work and attention to detail, I am sure it will be developed correctly and in a timely manner. At this point, the property is an eyesore and needs attention. We at Washera Country Club are in favor of the addition to a fine business like Cristiano's in the town of Marion. Another one on March 14th was received from Steve Norlin. I am writing to state my support for the zoning change request from Cristiano's Pizza. My wife Donna and I have owned property at W7171 Silver Lake Road since 2000, and the proposed building site is just across Highway 21 from our residence. I have known the Wise family for many years and know them to be a great family and run an equally great business. I have watched their business grow and expand, which is due to their hard work. The fact that they want to invest more in this area is a real plus for the local residents as well as those visiting from outside Wautoma. I have a great deal of respect for all business owners who work hard every day, hire local talent, and give back to the community. Cristiano's Pizza and the Wise family check all of these points, and I see no reason why their request for a zone change should not be granted. Sincerely, Steve Norland. I'm not done yet.
I know, I see that.
Another one that we received on March 14th is from John Dix. I own a house in the township of Marion at N758 Spring Lake Estates Drive, Wautoma, and I am in favor of the zone change for Cristiano's Pizza, LLC, per the notice in the Argus on March 2nd. Also on March 14th, we received one from Craig and Julie Walker to the Marion Township Zoning Board. We live on West Silver Lake Road, directly across Highway 21 from the proposed Cristiano's restaurant. We believe strongly in American entrepreneurship and feel that this restaurant exemplifies the very best of such efforts. We realize there may be traffic and other issues, but handled correctly, neighbors should remain largely unaffected. Please consider this letter a strong recommendation on our part in favor of allowing the Cristiano's restaurant to move forward without delay. That's Craig and Julie Walker. On March 10th, we received a letter from Ben, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Castine, K-A-S-T-E-I-N, to Washera County Zoning. I am writing to you today to offer my support for the upcoming zoning hearing on March 16th for the rezoning of Cristiano's Pizza as noted in the Washera Argus. I am the owner of a nearby home on Silver Lake addressed W7055 Silvercrest Road. Not only will this proposed development be a positive for the area, it will create new jobs and will be an extension of a successful business run by the Wise family, who I know to be very good people. They employ many locals, and I believe this will be a new asset for the Township of Marion. I'm aware of the location and review, and I'm confident this is good for the area, and the land will be suited ideally for the development. On March 10th, we also received a letter from Richard Golke to Washera County Zoning. I own property in the Township of Marion on Highway 21, Section 6, and I'm in favor of the zone change for Cristiano's LLC on the notice in the Washera Argus, March 2nd. I think it would be a good addition to the township. The Wise family are good people and hire many folks in the county. I know the location for the zone change. Also on March 10th, we received a letter from Shirley Handel, Harry Handel, and Nancy Honnell. Please note that we are in favor of the zone change for Cristiano's Pizza, LLC, as noted in the Washera Argus on March 2nd. We are the owners of property in the town of Marion, and we think this would be a good addition to the township. On March 10th, we also received a letter from Wade Panow. I am an owner of a property at W6875 State Highway 21 in the town of Marion. I am in favor of the zone change for Cristiano's Pizza as published in the Washera Argus on March 2nd. I know the Wise family, and they are good people, hardworking people, and they will build a building for their business that will be an asset to the town of Marion. I'm aware of the location of the zone change. Cristiano's Pizza hires many local people. Also on March 10th, we received a letter from Michael Riley. I own property in the Township of Marion at W6739 South Silver Lake Road, and I'm in favor of the zone change for Cristianos LLC as per the notice in the Washera Argus, March 2nd. I think it would be a good addition. We need to keep up with the progress like Green Lake and Wapaka Chain of Lakes does. I know the location for the zone change. Also on March 10th, we received a letter from Naomi Ellickson. We own a home in the township of Marion, N. 1879 Silver Oaks Lane, Watoma, just off Silver Lake, and we are in favor of the zone change for Cristianos Pizza LLC per the notice in the Washera Argus on March 2nd. I believe this will be an asset to the township of Marion and Washera County. Oh, it's also signed by Christ Ellickson. I'm really sorry. Kristen Naomi Ellickson. Then we got a letter from DOT. So relative to Cristianos Pizza, we have not completed the review as of yet. Until the recent thaw, we have not been able to complete any field reviews. I hope it will be completed within the next 2 weeks. Sorry for any inconvenience this may cause, and please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. And that was from Kelly Nicholas, Access Management Coordinator at DOT. On March 13th, we received a letter from Ken Schlimgen to the members of the Washera County Planning and Zoning Committee. As a property owner directly south across Highway 21 from the parcel in question, I would like to offer my support for the requested change. We have been acquainted with the Wise family as both business owners and neighbors. They have always been conscientious about keeping their properties presentable to the public and maintained to high standards. I feel confident that this new property will be no different. My only asks in granting of the zone change would be to limit signage lighting and other outdoor lighting so it does not extend beyond the property limits. I would also ask that any use of the covered patio be limited so its utilization does not extend beyond 10 p.m. as a means to minimize noise issues in the area. Please contact me with any questions. And again, that's signed Ken Schlimgen. And that's it.
Is there anybody in the county that he doesn't know?
I don't think so.
We need to teach her how to speak like they do on the commercials when they have to give those things real fast.
Then you wouldn't be able to understand me.
Can't read
Okay.
fast enough the way it is.
Correspondence.
That was correspondence.
Registered in favor to speak, Jed Wise.
My name's Jed Wise, and I'd like to echo the letters of favor to the Cristianos project and say that I support their zone change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Weiss? You sure?
He's telling you don't get another chance.
That's it. You're. Krista Ellickson, registered only in favor, but not speak. Harry Handel, registered only in favor, but not speak. Come on, Harry, you can say something. Rory Ellickson, registered only in favor, but not speak. I hope I pronounced this right. Tina Schleckner. Speak in opposition of the application. You want to come speak into the mic, please?
I have a property directly across from where they're proposed to put Cristianos. When we purchased our property in 2000, we purchased it in a residential area to come up to enjoy the scenery, the wildlife, and everything else. And we have Silvercrest, we have the Moose Inn, which goes to my next point, the noise. When they have their outdoor parties, we hear their music, we hear the people drinking as far as getting loud and obnoxious. I have children and I work in this community, and to have that kind of disturbance at nighttime when I have to get up to go to work is not what I purchased a home in this area to be around. And then there's safety concerns. I have children that drive along that highway. It is a state highway, and as you know, there's safety issues. I've watched from my home many accidents happen because people are turning into the Silvercrest. I witnessed a friend of mine who was turning into the Moose Inn. He was the pharmacist at Pomida, and he ended up becoming deceased because somebody didn't pay attention and hit the vehicle. It's a highway. It's not for that. Semi-trucks come through, and it's just not safe. How are they going to address coming around a curve and having people waiting to turn into a restaurant? Are people's lives worth a piece of pizza? And them are pretty much my concerns.
Okay, we will take those into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Staff comments, please.
Again, for the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan, and they did visit the property. I'm going to explain a little bit about zone changes because we've had every kind of application that we can possibly have here tonight. There are several defined zones throughout the county. You are probably familiar with a few of the broad categories: agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial. In this particular instance, we're asking to go from agricultural. This property is still zoned general agricultural to commercial and residential. Some of the lots along the lake went from ag to residential a few years ago when they were developed there, and this one wasn't. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information again that shows the committee this change in the underlying zoning will mean that the property is still in keeping with this area and that is not a detrimental change in the area, and that the resultant lots will be good neighbors and remain in keeping with the existing land uses. Keep in mind that a zone change is a permanent change to the property, and that by changing the zoning, you are likely changing not only the minimum lot size, but also what may be permitted on the property. Because of this permanent change, the review standards are quite high, and applications for zone changes are reviewed by 3 bodies. The first step is tonight, after the public hearing, where the Planning and Zoning Committee will make a recommendation on the application. That recommendation will go to the full county board of supervisors, and then the town board will review the application in order to change the zoning on the property. The application must be approved at all 3 levels of review, from committee to county board and to town board, before it's changed. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the new construction will need a new address number, that the location of the restaurant will be fairly far off the road and not highly visible, and that they plan to use the existing driveway if state DOT grants a permit for the upgrade. They also noted that the new residential parcel should be able to access off the cul-de-sac, and that it appears there is an easement plan for the remaining lands to the north. As far as my comments go, and this was a discussion that I did have with Gary Waleko, is that the town is responsible for making sure that this is in compliance with their land use plan. It's you know, the zoning committee shouldn't be making decisions that aren't in compliance with it, but in this case, where we don't have anything from the town other than that they're in favor of it, you know, they need to make sure that their land use plan reflects that this should be commercial and residential. And maybe it already does, you know, it is their responsibility to interpret that too, along with their planning commission. But I have talked to Gary and the town clerk about that, so they are going to be addressing that. I also think that this is probably one of the last residential lots out there, since a lot of the remaining lands to the north would be accessed by easement, and you can't have smaller parcels accessed by easement. DOT should be looking at all the safety issues. That's one of the reasons that they need to go out in the field. They need to look at how far it is from other accesses, how far you can see. If they think it's unsafe, they may ask you to put in a turning lane and some other things. I mean, the highway safety issue is clearly in DOT's hands, you know. If all codes are followed and proper permits are obtained for the restaurant, I think this would be a very good addition to the area. There are similar developments along the highway here. The reduced speed limit should help with safety, and the driveway does have good visibility. That was things that we noted. Right. So that's it for my comments.
Does the applicant have anything to rebuttal or anything to add? Okay. So that concludes the Cristiano's zone change. Next thing we have is the tax amendments. to be approved. Do you want to read all of that?
No,
I didn't think so.
Be here a while.
We'll be here all night.
but I do want to talk to you about,
Go ahead.
yesterday afternoon, I got a letter from DNR. I knew I would. So I have draft 8.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I made a copy of their letter, pointing out all the things that I needed to do. And then I wrote a letter, but I haven't sent it out yet, because I think I need to make it a little more politically correct before I do.
Will you ask me for my
Of
approval?
of all the reasons why I'm not gonna do everything that they ask us to do. So I don't know if you wanna go over these, at least not at this time. I think
Right, I think we take,
You know,
we'll do the applications.
some of them we talked about yesterday, you know, and I knew that they didn't agree with some of our interpretations.
Right.
Ruth's gone right now, you know, I'd really like to talk to her about it. I think we can adopt this way, and then we're gonna change it again. You know that they're gonna introduce more legislation, that we're gonna have to change our code again anyway, so I think we're moving in the right direction, quite honestly, and I would ask that you consider, especially with the DNR stuff, that you adopt it this way, and then we'll
We'll change it.
we'll change it if we have to. But again, some of it still, I mean, one of the big ones is that we should not be allowing accesses to boathouses. It's only to the shoreline. And I think that's quite honestly crazy.
You and I talked about that.
You
That's
know,
ridiculous.
So, I mean, some of it, I don't know where they're coming from, and I think it's overreaching and all the things that you think about DNR, and I don't usually say that about them, but I will.
I do.
Now it's been recorded, so
I don't
they're
care.
gonna,
Not the lady that wrote this stuff up today for the DNR.
Okay, that we'll discuss when we get into our business meeting. Okay, that concludes the,
well, do you want me to explain anything about it? Is anybody here really interested in the text amendments?
well, I'm just looking through the crowd. I don't think so.
Text amendments aren't your thing?
No.
Okay, well then I guess we'll skip
Yeah,
that
I think
part.
we can. I mean, I pretty much was doing a survey there. Okay, that concludes our